When you think about a school library, what comes to mind? Probably a quiet, safe space, right? A place for learning? Well, lately, that quiet sanctuary has turned into something else entirely, an unlikely battleground in a huge political and cultural fight. So today, we're going to unpack this whole battle over book bans.
I mean, listen to this quote. It just perfectly captures the shock of it all. We just never imagined we would be in the forefront. Librarians have always been the quiet stewards of information? And now suddenly they're thrust onto the front lines of this massive national debate.
And you can really see that shift right here. I mean, look at the difference. The job has completely transformed. It's gone from being this quiet, kind of behind-the-scenes guide to a very public defender. From just taking care of a space to being a vanguard in a war over the information inside it. So, yeah, that brings us to the real heart of the matter, doesn't it? How on earth did we get here? How did the school library, of all places, become ground zero for a political war? Okay, so to really get a grip on this, we've got to go back to the beginning. This whole firestorm, this modern book banning movement, it can pretty much be traced back to one single moment. It really all started with a list. Back in 2021, a Texas state representative, Matt Krause, sent this letter out to a bunch of school districts. But it wasn't just any letter. Nope. It had a list of books and basically demanded to know which schools had them and how much they paid for them. That one move, that was the spark that lit the fuse. And the scale of this thing, wow, we are talking about 850 titles on that first list. 850? This wasn't just someone challenging a book or two they didn't like. This was a massive, sweeping inquiry that put hundreds and hundreds of books squarely in the crosshairs. So, okay, what kinds of books are we even talking about here? Well, if you look at the list, a really clear pattern emerges, almost immediately. The books being targeted, they overwhelmingly featured LGBTQ+ authors and characters, authors of color, and dealt with topics like race, racism, gender identity, and sex ed. And, well, this just ignited a massive debate with two very different arguments. On one hand, you have the people arguing for removal. They say they're trying to protect kids from what they call pornographic material, and that it's all about upholding parental rights and community values. But on the other hand, you have the opponents. They're saying, hold on, this is about intellectual freedom. They argue it's censorship that specifically targets marginalized groups, and that the library needs to represent all students. Now, there's a really crucial legal piece to this whole puzzle. It's a 1982 Supreme Court case, Pico v. Island Trees, sometimes called the Roe v. Wade of libraries. And what it basically says is that school boards can't just pull books off shelves because they don't like the ideas in them. This ruling is the legal backbone for everyone fighting against these book removals. But here's the thing you have to understand. These challenges aren't just random, isolated incidents popping up here and there. Nope. There's a highly organized, coordinated strategy behind it all. In fact, one person involved actually called it wicked genius. And it seems like there's a clear playbook. Step 1, you mobilize parents around a hot-button issue, like, say, COVID school policies. Step 2, you pivot all that energy under the big banner of parental rights. Step 3, you turn that focus onto the libraries, and you start challenging books by calling them pornography. And the endgame? Step 4, fund and elect your own candidates to take over the school boards. And this isn't just a grassroots thing without any backing. Oh no, it's supported by some big organized groups and has serious money behind it. You've got groups like Moms for Liberty leading the charge, and then you have companies like Patriot Mobile, a Christian conservative cell phone provider whose PAC has poured hundreds of thousands of dollars into local school board races in Texas. They're directly funding this push to gain control. So all this political machinery, it has a real profound human cost. This isn't just some abstract debate happening on TV. It is affecting real people in really deep and personal ways. It's gotten to the point where people are just looking around and saying, this can't be America. I mean, the rhetoric has just escalated to a terrifying level. Librarians are getting direct, violent threats. Things like, we have guns, when can we start killing liberals? It's turning their workplace, a library, into a place of genuine fear. And you have to think about the students, too. For them, the stakes are just as high, if not higher. Listen to this quote from a student. Had I not picked this book up, I don't think I would be sitting here now. It just shows you what's at stake when these books are taken away. For some kids, finding a story, finding a character they can see themselves in, it can be a literal lifeline. This conflict is also just tearing communities apart. It's pitting neighbor against neighbor. And in one really powerful example from Texas, it even pitted family members against each other.
A young man named Weston Brown actually got up and spoke at a school board meeting to directly oppose his own mom's campaign to ban books.
And the consequences for the librarians and educators caught in the middle? They are severe. People are getting fired for defending intellectual freedom. They're being doxxed, which means their private info gets blasted all over the internet for harassment. They're being called groomers and pedophiles. They're even being threatened with felony charges. All for just doing their jobs and providing books to kids.
So, when you strip it all away, what is this really all about? I mean, is it just about a few books on a shelf? Well, it seems that for many people involved, this fight is about something much, much bigger. It's about control. This quote from a librarian really just says it all. If you can control the library, you can control the community. Because if you can control the flow of information, if you can control the ideas, you've got it. You've got everything. That really gets to the heart of what many believe is the ultimate endgame here. And you have to understand, for a lot of the leaders of this movement, this isn't even a political war. They explicitly frame it as a spiritual war. And when you call it that, you're not just having a political disagreement anymore. You're fighting a moral crusade for the soul of the country. And in their eyes, that justifies taking over public institutions, starting right at the school board level. And in the face of all this, librarians are really stepping up in a new way. They see themselves as that last line of defense. They're like a firewall, protecting not just the books themselves, but the First Amendment and that fundamental democratic idea that all stories and all people have a right to be seen and heard. Which really leaves us with one final big question to think about. Because this isn't just a fight over books, is it? It's a battle over what our public institutions are for. So you have to ask yourself, what happens when a public library stops reflecting the entire community it's supposed to serve?